Can anybody hear me out there? If you would, type in the chat field for me. Okay, great. We've got Stephanie from San Diego, Margaret. Thank you guys, appreciate it. I love technology, but whenever technology has its challenges, we're always a little questioning. So, Lincoln from Hawaii. Welcome aboard, guys. I'm going to give it just a couple more seconds here, and then we'll get rolling. I am recording this, so if anybody has to leave early, we will certainly make this available for you for rebroadcast. What my plan is, and we had originally named this as being Newbie Tuesday. It's really geared for those users that are brand new to Realvolve and really want to kind of make sure they get started right. So if you've been with Realvolve, this may be too basic for you, but if you are brand new, we want to make sure that we're covering all the basics. And at the same time, I want to open it up. What we're going to do is we're going to go through some very basics. Some of the questions that whenever we first registered this, I had several people reply back and give me some basic questions of what they would like to see. So I'm going to cover those at first, and then just kind of hang with you guys to see what other questions you may have. And if it's a question that I think is a little bit more detailed or more sophisticated for an advanced user, something like that, what I might do is actually correspond with you on that as a separate side thing. So don't let me think that, or don't think that I'm putting you off on anything. I just really want to keep everything in this particular webinar geared towards new users and some of the very, very basics. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and show my screen. And you should be able to see it now. What we're going to be covering are some of the very basics, like I said. And if you would, as we go through this process, if you have questions, go ahead and put them into the questions area, and then we'll kind of cover those towards the end of this process. So let's go ahead and begin. Whenever I first sent this out, one of the very first questions that came in was, where do I start by setting things up? And what are maybe the top 10 things I need to do to actually get set up? And this was from Mike Daniels. And it's really, really simple. For the most of what we really will be needing as far as setup stuff will be in the setup section. So if you, in the upper right hand corner, you click on your down arrow and go to settings. Within the settings area, there's some key elements, and this is going to be important for you, and also if you have a team to set this up per user, because each user has their own information as well. So under the My Accounts, which is this section right here, and I've just got a sample Joe Agent in here. Basically what happens is there's information here that's used for merging for different things, for signatures possibly, or there's several mail merge fields that will be used within templates and other things. And information from this is important to fill in. So make sure that one of the first things that you do is go in, fill in the information as complete as possible, because you'll be able to utilize this whenever you're utilizing your templates. A lot of the templates and stuff can use sentence structures and stuff and information that could change over time. So instead of hard coding those changes into your templates, and we will kind of go over that, but instead of hard coding any of your phone numbers and stuff like that, fill them in here, and then we can use those as merge fields later, so that in the event your cell phone changes or your address changes or anything like that, you don't have to go through all of those templates to change them all out to have that information in there. So that's one thing that's important. The next piece that really is important, just so that you know, and we certainly hope that this isn't an issue with anybody, but if for some reason you need to cancel, we definitely, or change your credit card information. From the My Account section, you just scroll down and there's a place there to change your credit card information. You can update it here and also start the cancellation process. While we certainly don't want anybody to cancel, and it's something that we want to maintain your business. Definitely, people move on, people get out of the business, and we want to make sure that you have an easy way of canceling if that's what you really want to do. Also, changing of your plans. One bit of information here is the fact that we did recently change all of our contact property transaction limits. So those are really no longer limits, and we will be changing the file storage piece as well very soon as well. So don't worry about those. The main emphasis of your plans are basically the number of users. So that's the basic information on My Account. On emails, one of the things that we do for you is we set up a couple things that can be done automatically, and we want to make sure that you know how to turn those on if you want them on, or turn them off if you've had them on and you no longer want them. So I wanted to make sure that we help you understand the process here. So there will be a time, hopefully, that you will be using workflows whenever you first start getting into the system. You may not use it right away, but at some point, because of the power of the workflows and the ability to send out communication on a regular basis, you can set up activities in your workflows to be able to send out emails automatically. Now, there's options within the action of an activity that says send it manually or manually with preview, but there's also an option that says send automatically. And if you have that turned on, then what it does is whenever it is time for that activity to be sent, it will send it automatically as long as you've got this option turned on. Now, if you have it turned off like it is right now, any emails that are supposed to be sent automatically will not send. Okay, that basically turns off that entire process for everything. So if you want to be able to send anything automatically, make sure you click on that. It'll turn it on. At the same time, you'll probably also want to set aside a time that you want to send things automatically if there's no time assigned. If you've got an activity in your calendar that says at 2 o'clock I want this certain email to go out, it'll go out at 2 o'clock. But if there's no time associated to it, if it just has a date, then by setting a time here for automatically send messages, any activity that does not have a time will be sent at that time. Once you've made these changes, go ahead and update those settings and you will be good. The next section on this really deals with daily reminders. Now, as you add activities to your calendar on a daily basis, you're going to have things come up, okay? And you can have notifications turned on so that it will notify you, 10 minutes ahead of time or whatever. But one of the features here is to say, well, I want a daily notification of everything that's on my calendar that's really important that needs to be done. So at 7 o'clock a.m. or whatever time you specify, it will send out an automatic email that says, okay, at 10 o'clock you've got this appointment, 7 o'clock p.m. you got this appointment, whatever. And it can also deal with all-day activities like birthdays and anniversaries. You can turn those on or off. Once you have those the way you want, then you can certainly click on the update and it will save those settings so that you'll have them at 7 o'clock every morning. If for some reason something's changed, you've added things to your calendar and you want an updated or refreshed email, you can click on the Send Now button and it will resend that email notification for you immediately so that you can have access to it. So that's another thing that would need to be set up on when we first come in. One important one is your time zone, making sure that under settings, time zone, that you select your proper time zone. Click on the down arrow on this, select the appropriate time zone that you're in, and once you've selected it, it is all set. The important piece there is, especially if you're doing any kind of syncing with Google or something like that, that time is important. So their time zone is important. So if you incorrectly assign the time zone, it can change the appointment times whenever it synchronizes. The next thing, there are a couple areas that we want you to set up initially so that you can utilize them within either the contacts area or the properties area. One of them is called boards. Now this is really for your MLS board. We have a series of miscellaneous ones that are available. You can certainly pick from those, or you can simply click on and enter your own custom board. And this is really what state is it in, what acronym. If it has like a, for Greater Springfield Board of Realtors, its acronym is GSBOR. You can put that in. So if, for instance, we were associated with Texas HAR, the Houston Association of Realtors, we can put that in there. Houston Association of Realtors, and then an area is really not needed, but it would identify what area of the country that you're dealing with. Now, the reason why we do this, and once you have that set up, just click on the Save button, and it will add it to the lower section, and this will be used within a menu later. If you only are member of one board, you only have one option here. There are many users that they're right on a state line, or they're in an area where they could be members of multiple boards, and having access to those items are important to them. So this just gives you, it's basically just building a menu for you to use for a selection within your listings and your properties area. So that's one thing that's important to do. The other thing that's really important to do is dealing with your contact source. Where are my names coming from? If I'm getting names from a website, if I'm getting names from any kind of lead generation, Zillow, Trulia, that type of information, it's important to make sure that we know where those names are coming from if you're doing any kind of lead generation. Under the settings, under this contact source type, you can select, again, we've got some master items that you can pick from, but we've also got a place here where you can put in your own. So if we wanted to put in Zillow in there, spell it correctly, put in Zillow and press save, it then adds it to the list. And you can add as many different contact source types as needed, whatever ones that you use yourself. So that is important to be able to isolate where are my names coming from. And coming very soon, which I don't really want to spoil everything, but a little bit of a spoiler, we're having a new dashboard getting released here in just another week or so that will utilize a lot of this stuff to give you more information, and we'll send you more information on that, but that's it's important to have those pieces in there. The next thing that is important for setup is users and permissions. Now, whenever you first sign in, you're the account holder, you'll see that there is one item there for account holder, and it's your name and your email address. Whenever you're a single agent, that's all you need. But if you have a team of any size, you got one or more people in your team, you can add additional users depending on your plan. So the key here is to simply click on invite a new user, put in their first name, their last name, and their email, and then click on send an invitation. What that does then is that will send them an invitation. They will be able to use a link on that email that they get to be able to add their own password to get access to the system. Once they have that password, then they can log in as themselves. That then gives them their own set of contacts, their own set of calendar items, things that are individual to them. Now there's some, if they're an assistant to you, they wouldn't necessarily have their own records necessarily, but in this case, Annie Assistant basically does all of her work for Joe Agent. So as she's adding names and stuff, she can enter those names and it will go ahead and default or automatically add Joe Agent, which is the account holder in this case, as the record owner of any of the contacts. And that would be important for any kind of assistant type person. If you have other agents in your office that needs their own contact records, or they need to have access to other people, the other contacts in the database, there are some security settings in here, and I'm not going to go over this right now. Just realize that they are there, and we can identify. We do have some training on our YouTube channel to go over this, because this can get a little bit more sophisticated, and for most people it's kind of an all or nothing, so they can just go up here and say set as an admin, set the assistant as an admin, and that would give them access to everything. So depending on what you need, if you need additional help on that, certainly let us know and we can step you through that. But that is not a critical piece for this particular webinar. Now, last piece of setup that I think is really important is to understand the default fields. Default fields for the system itself deals with those fields in your database that you're going to use on a regular basis. Now, there are, for our Canadian friends, they tend to use their street addresses different. So making sure that you set up your street format, your address format, 123 South Oak Street in this case versus 123 Oak Street South is the only difference from what I've had several conversations with agents, just depending on how they use it in their area. There are some property settings whenever you get into properties, which is not a major deal. Those are just some default values. But what is important is this. Under the party members for a property and also for a transaction, you can set up the default party members that are important to you, that you use on almost all of your transactions. You know, typically you'll have a seller 2 possibly, the selling agent, anybody that was referred, you know, a seller referred by. You might always use a stager. You might always use, you know, a videographer. You can set up these check boxes so that whenever you create a new property, it will go ahead in the party member section, and I'll show that here in a second. It will go ahead and put those party members in there, so you can just click and drag names into them. You don't have to go in and add them manually. But be sure to add the ones that you use on a regular basis. That way you don't have to add them manually. Once you've got them set up the way you want, click on the update and it'll update those. Same type of thing in the transaction side. Now, I get a lot of questions about, I need custom fields. And almost like 95% of the time, it's custom fields dealing with dates. So let me explain one thing that's really important. Realvolve is, right now, we're specifically designed for real estate agents. I have a background in real estate, but also lending, title, and escrow. In the near future, the plan is to also incorporate those other business sectors of lending and title and escrow, and we need common fields. So what we do is we have almost every type of date that is known to real estate that is important to the real estate transaction. If for some reason in your area we don't have a particular date that you need, send me an email and we'll get it added. What we're wanting to do is make sure that we have an associated spot for everything that's important that might be utilized amongst the different platforms, so that we don't have a whole bunch of custom dates and a whole bunch of custom party members, same type of thing, that that people are setting up so that they don't align. Because what will happen in the near future is the ability for us to share information amongst the different areas. So that's some important stuff. So you've got the dates for transactions, which there's a whole bunch of dates, as well as party members. So do the same type of thing for party members. Check all the items for the party members that you would customarily use for a transaction. I know there's some of these that you may not know what they are at all, but typically, because of us being in lots of different areas, some of these are known quite well by other users. So just make sure that you check the ones that are appropriate for you, and then click on the update button, and then you're all set. So are you able to remove a user? Sorry, I missed that question earlier. Yes. Whenever you go under the users section, let me go back to that question there. Over here on the right-hand side, there is an option to delete that user. Once you choose that option, it will give you the ability to reassign duties of that contact, of that user, to another user. So there's some questions that will pop up through that process. So if there's somebody going to be replacing somebody else, add the new person first, and then delete the user if possible. That way you can simply go in there and swap them out. Can you customize the party members? Same type of question as the dates. If there's somebody that some party member type that you want, be sure to email us and we'll include those. Again, there's a ton of party members in there, so more than likely those names are in there, but if they're not, definitely send those to us and we will get those added on there for you. Okay. And the question about, I noticed daily reminders started at 7 a.m. Can you make them earlier at times? Those should be able to be on whatever time you're on. You can have reminders even above that. Unless I'm misunderstanding that question, Lincoln, we can discuss that on another email if that's not the way I'm understanding it. All right, so those are the kind of the top 10 things, which that was kind of long to go over, but those are the important things to make sure that you get set up initially. Once you have those things in place, everything else flows a whole lot easier. The next thing, just as a general question that came across, was where do I get assistance now, or help, if you need help or questions or whatever. Certainly you can click on the down arrow and go to help. That'll go to our website, our help website, which is help.realvolve.com, and there's some stuff there. But we've also got lots of YouTube training that you can go through. Just go to youtube.com and do a search for Realvolve, and you'll find our channel. We're the only one on there at this point with Realvolve. The other option is to email support@realvolve.com. And just recently we added the Facebook group. We opened that up, and if you go to our Realvolve News today, basically it'll say join the Facebook group, and there's a little link here that will take you through and get you connected to our Facebook group. Again, it's just Realvolve, but definitely those are the four majors. We will be instituting some additional pieces very soon, but those will get you what you need. And definitely we try to get to people as quickly as possible on those. Now, the other big question, and I had several people ask this, and I want to make sure that it's covered. Whenever you go to your dashboard, it comes to the main screen here, which opens up this section here. There are three main databases that we deal with. We deal with the contact database, we deal with the property database, and transactions. Whenever you click on contacts, it will show you all the contacts in a list here on the left-hand side. And you can, based off of filters or whatever, you can reduce this list based off of what you need. So if I wanted to go in here and I wanted to search by a tag, and we're going to cover tags here in just a second, say I wanted to limit this to just my top 150. Now I've only got like 25 names in this training database, but if I had 4,000 or whatever, and I just marked my top 150 people, I could tag them as top 150, and then it would show just those names. So down here at the bottom it says find contacts tagged with top 150. So if I look now, it has now brought my 25 count down to 9, and it's just showing those people that are in my top 150. If I wanted to see all the names that are in this list, whether it's 9 in this case, or if it's 5,000, whatever, I can click on the little chevron icons on the right-hand side to open up the View All screen. That View All screen gives you more of a list format with more detail of everybody in there. Now, based off of how I have this sorted, it will automatically sort the information here. I like personally to sort it by a couple different things. One is last call date. When did I call this person last? And what this does then is I can sort this either ascending or descending, and I can pull up a list of people that either I haven't called in a long time, and those would be perfect names that I should potentially call, and it gives me, when did I last call them or whatever. So making sure that those dates are in there, and you can sort them either ascending, so you can say who did I call last. You can certainly see those names and numbers as well by the last call date. There are multiple sorting features there. The other one that I like to do is like recently updated, so that I know who did I change recently, and being able to sort by that as well. So I can go recently updated and do the same View All, and you'll see that on the right hand side it has changed my recently updated list. So those are some sorting features to deal with the contacts, but you can also filter your names down. If you want to reset your filters, you want to show everybody again, just click on the little X here to reset, and it'll bring it back everybody in your database. There's the ability to sort or filter by tag, by the category, which let me explain that one real quick, just so that, because that was one of the questions we had. On every contacts record, both in the detail and also in this grid view, you'll see this A, B, C, and D. And a lot of people have asked, well, what is the A, B, C, and D for? And I've had the fortune of being with a lot of trainers, real estate trainers, that have kind of gone with this same idea. And it's important for you to identify your contacts, how you feel they are, their importance to you. And An A might be somebody, and you can identify them however you want, but this is kind of how it's typically done. An A would be those people that have referred you multiple people. Some people use A+ on those, but an A would be somebody that referred you people, multiple people. B's are those people that you've done business with, or maybe they've only referred one person, that maybe they've not done business with you, but they referred somebody to you at least once. They could be a B. The C's would be those people that you've not done business with, but you want to, and they're just in your database. And then there's the D's. The D's would be those people that maybe you've done business with, but man, it was a tough one, and you just really don't want to deal with them again. You can put them in a category that kind of puts them off to the side. Now, do you ever want to stray away from business? Nah, not necessarily, but if you've got enough business that you don't mind referring those types of people out to somebody else, those are the D people, or might be the ones that you would be interested in doing that. But that's kind of the purpose of the ABCD, is just to help you self-organize those contacts in that manner. And you can sort your names by those categories. So if you want to say, show me everybody that's a B, then it would bring up just those list of people that are B, or B's and C's. Do it however you want. You can bring them up. Again, you can reset individual filters, or you can reset the entire filters. By record owner, if you've got multiple agents in your database using Realvolve, you may want to limit to just your own name. So, some of these contacts might be one of the other agents, and I just want to see mine. You can certainly limit it by the record owner. There is a record type, whether this is a person or a company. Some people say, well, I only want to deal with my people. I don't want to deal with any kind of record that's a company record. So you can do that by person. And then also by referral. So if you know somebody that referred other people and you want to know who all they referred, you can type in their name here, and it will give you a list of everybody that they referred, and that's a good one. There is the source. Earlier we had put in the Zillow option. You'll see that this is a drop down for that. This is different than a tag. It's a dedicated list of where did the contacts come from, and that's where that list was used whenever we set those up originally. We do have some miscellaneous others. Now, what this is we've got a lot of users that import data from a lot of different places, and they've expressed the need to say, well, I want to see everybody that I don't have an email address on. So you can come here and say, contacts without email. Or maybe, show me everybody that I don't have an address on, and you can do contacts without address, or you can limit it the other direction if you want. Contacts without tags. What this does is this gives you a little bit of an assistance in helping to organize your data, so that if you're wanting to go in there and you're wanting to update people, you can get that list of people that are missing information and be able to make a phone call, or do something with them to try to get that information in there, and it helps weed out those people that actually, or weed in this case, those people that you're wanting to access. The by date. Now this one is a little bit different because we do have a drop-down option, and there's multiple dates that you can specify. So if you wanted to say, show me everybody that has a birthday in October. Now I don't know that I've got anybody in there. I just select the date range, and it would bring up everybody in my list with a birthday within that date range. Okay, same type of, and it doesn't matter what year. For birthdays, for anniversaries, it does not, and relationship anniversaries, it does not matter what year it is. It just gives you the month selection. But you can also go in there and say, well, show me everything that I entered between a certain date, or everything that I modified between a certain date. It gives you that capability of selecting records based off of date values. Likewise, last call date, last personal note, or last personal visit. A lot of people like to keep that information, and we've got those fields in there for you to search and sort on as well. Once you've got your dates selected and you no longer need them or whatever, you can click on Remove Date Range from the list here, or the filter reset, either way, and it will reset them back. Now, I originally started off by describing the tags and kind of went through all the filters, and it's important to understand the filters, but one of the big questions that we get is, how do you add filters, or how do you add tags? Sorry. A tag, if you go to the radar tab of any contact, any property or transaction, we have a section here called tags, and tags shows you which tags are assigned to this contact. In this particular case, Mary Smith is tagged to my newsletter 2015. She's also on my top 150. If I wanted to add her to maybe a tag and call her a buyer, I can go in here and type in buyer, and it will show me a list of the options that are currently in there, which I can pick from and choose from. Or if it's not in the list, maybe I want to put in buyer 2015. Okay, it's not in the list right now, so it's not showing that as an option. I can just tab out of that, and it will now add that tag to this person. So it's available now for other people to use that same tag as well. Again, that's for searching. So now I can say, show me everybody that was a buyer 2015 if I wanted to, or seller 2015. Whatever you want. And tags are for your personal use. You can use them however you want and in whatever you want. The main purpose of the tag is to help you filter those names down. So if I go in there and I say, show me everybody that is my top 150, like I did before, I can search through the list, or I can just type in from the list here. I type in top 150, and it will bring my list up front. I can then go in here, click on the View All, and the advantage of having the tag is to quickly assimilate those names that you want to do something with. So in this case, if I wanted to bring up my top 150 and I wanted to send everybody an email, I can come up here and mark them with the record marker here on the left-hand side, clicking the top one. What it does, one thing to recognize is that this does view in what we call pages. So it only loads a few pages at a time. So it may load like 50 names at a time. If you've got 3,000 names in here, it'll say you've selected 50 contacts out of 3,000. And then it'll give you the option to say select all 3,000. So you could click there to go ahead and select all the names in the database. Once you've done that, then at that point you can go in here and say, well, I want to send a mass email to everybody, or maybe I want to export these names to a Google Drive CSV file, or maybe export it to a CSV file that I download. Maybe you want to use Microsoft Word or something like that to do some kind of mail out as well. So it gives you that ability to filter by the names, mark those names, and then be able to do stuff with those names. Now you can also go in there and say, well, I want to add a note to all of these people. You can certainly add a note to everybody. I want to add a tag or multiple tags to all these people. Maybe you've got a whole list of names that were buyers, and maybe they were something else, and you want to bring them all together into one, and you can say, well, I want to add a tag to all of the marked records. So you just click on Add Tag, type in the tag you want, and then say, for instance, webinar, which is a new tag. I don't have that in there, and then I want to click on Add them now. So what that does is that adds webinar to all 9 marked people. If I had any of these were unmarked, it would skip those. So those are all available for you as well. So we've been able to assign tags. We've been able to select multiple contacts and tag them all at once. I've shown you filtering of tags, the deleting of tags. Now, if on any particular person you decide that you no longer want them in a particular tag, say for instance, Mary here, maybe I decided I really don't want her in the webinar. You just click on the little X over here on the right-hand side, and it will remove that tag from her record. And that is easy as that. If for some reason you need to edit any of the tag names, you can go to the tags area of the system here and see our buyer 2015. If I click on this, it should only have the one contact, which is Mary Smith, because she's the only one that I assigned it to. But if I need to rename that for some reason, I can click on the little pencil to edit that tag name, change it to something else, and then click on save. I'm just going to leave it as it is, but that gives me the ability to edit that. If you want to delete it, you can certainly delete it from here, and it'll remove it from everybody as well. So just a word of caution there. You don't really want to delete tags unless you really mean it. So that takes care of the tags. I also went through the A, B, C, and D, explained that. So now we are at the last, and that was really the list of things that people had asked me about. So what I want to do is open it up for any additional questions that you guys may have. I don't want to, we're going on 40 minutes right now, and it's a little bit longer than I wanted to, but I think this was some important stuff that some of the users need to have access to. So if there's something within as a beginner that you wanted to know and I did not cover, put it into the question area, and I'll try to cover that. Anybody? Okay, here we go. I have a partner with both our first names and somehow got combined one person in the owner section. How do I change that and not enter it that way? I have a partner and both of our first names somehow. Okay, I'm sorry, I get it now. Okay, so each contact record in the database, if you go into a contact and we go under the contact tab, if you scroll down on the right hand side, you'll see there is record details. On the record details, this allows you to assign who's the record owner of this contact. Now, there may be companies, there may be vendors, lenders, carpet layers, stuff like that, that you want to allow multiple people to have ownership or access to your names where you might have other names private. But what you can do is go in here and you can assign multiple record owners to any given contact. So in this particular case, both Joe agent and Annie assistant, sorry about that, I get a little tongue-tied, have access to this record. And by putting that in that way, it gets around some of the security things. If Annie is not supposed to have access to this record, then it wouldn't be shown unless she's the record owner. In that case, then this record would be shown. So making sure that we assign the right record owner is needed. If the wrong record owner has been assigned, you can just click on the X and it will remove the one that you want to remove. So I hope that answered that. Importing contacts from Advantage XI, what will happen to the categories I use there? Okay, Susan, within Advantage XI, which is my old product, for those that don't know about Advantage XI, it's a Windows-based product that I originally developed and since moved into Realvolve. We're migrating a lot of the Advantage XI users into Realvolve. All the categories, those categories will be tags automatically. So whenever you import, all those tags, all those categories will be reassigned as tags. So you'll be all set there. How do you mark an activity as done in a workflow? Okay, yeah, I did not cover really the calendar piece at all, and which is important. One thing that I want you to recognize is the fact that at the top here we have a calendar option, and that calendar option is kind of your broad calendar. It's the calendar for everything that you've got, and you can view those activities by whoever you are. If you're logged in as Joe Agent, in this case, you're going to see just those things, but you can see other users as well. But whenever you have activities that are assigned through a workflow, say if I go to Mary and I start a work, and I'm not going to really go into workflows, that's really a whole nother topic, but it really is the same thing as if it's a workflow. The only difference between a workflow and a calendar item is the fact that a workflow is a pre-designed layout of a bunch of different calendar or activities. Okay, so a workflow can say, you know, 1 day after listing date, I want to do this. 2 days after list date, I do this. Or if it's a prospecting or a lead generation workflow, you might say 1 day after the start date, which would be, you know, when I got this person into the database, I want to send an email. 2 days after, I want to make a phone call. Those are workflow items that get automatically added to your calendar as a template, but it's really the exact same thing. There is no difference whatsoever as going in and saying, you know, at 8 a.m. I want to make a phone call. Okay, and I'll create that activity. Now, had I created this as a workflow, it would be here just like it is now. And to complete that activity, I come here and I say complete. Now, depending on if it has a checklist or not, depending on if it has actions assigned to it or not, you may get additional prompts, but it's just a matter of clicking on that item and choosing complete. Once you've completed that activity, you'll see these little diagonal lines, and that means it's been completed. It's done on your list. Okay, so that's how you complete those. The most effective way to add a spouse to a contact. Okay, yes. Let's say I go to, trying to think if I've got anybody on here that does not have a spouse already. They probably do. Let me go to Caroline just to see. Okay, for Caroline, let me go here under contact. This is another thing. One of the things in Realvolve that we've done that's different than Advantage XI for those Advantage XI users that are online is that every contact in the database has its own record. So if you have a husband, wife, or you have a couple of some sort cohabitating or whatever, you're going to have a contact record for each one of them. Under the Contact tab, if you scroll down to the Personal Details section, there is a section here called, well, actually, let me go ahead and create a new contact. This is also, I guess, another important thing. If you want to add a new contact to your database, you can just click on the little plus here, click on Contact, and it will take you to a new contact record. At the top of this, then it'll have basically blank information. So if I put in here Paul Jones from, you know, whatever, if I want to put any company information I can put in the home address. I can put in, if I didn't want to just type it in, I can use the little dot, dot, dot. It's called an ellipsis button, and it'll let you put in more details. So I can say 123 South Main, and put in the zip code 65613 in this case, and it does the lookup for the city, state, and zip, and then I can click on save. So that puts that address in that record for me. It goes ahead and puts it on the map. At the same time, I can come down here to the personal details section and say relationship status. I want to add a relationship to this contact. I can click on what type of relationship it is, in this case married, and I want to put in maybe Janet Jones. Now what will happen is, as you're typing in the name, if you already have that name in the list, it'll show that item in the list right here. So if you've got the spouse already in the database, you can just select them from the list. If you don't have them in the database, just typing in the name like this, Janet Jones, and then tabbing out, we'll go ahead and create that contact. Well, I guess Janet Jones. Oh. One more thing. Whenever you're putting in the information, there is places here for the anniversary date, the greeting, and some other stuff. Whenever I click on save on this, then it should put them in. Oh my goodness. Janet Jones. There we go. For some reason, I'm not sure why I didn't do it the first time. It puts in that contact record. So it puts it in as a married contact. You'll see that my numbers up here have changed. Now instead of 26, I have 27. At the same time, I can put in the anniversary date. It's gone ahead and changed out the greeting field. Before, with just Paul, it just said Paul in the greeting field and Paul Jones in the mailing name field. Now, what is the greeting field? Whenever you're sending out mass emails or doing letters or whatever, this would be whatever's after dear. Dear Paul. If they're married, it's going to be Dear Paul and Janet. Okay. Likewise, the mailing name would be what would be on the label. So it'd be Paul and Janet Jones. If for some reason, or if the spouse has a different last name, it would show both names on that as well. So it gives you the ability to fill that in if you want it different than the way we have it set up. You can also say, based off of these two records, both Paul Jones and Janet being related, I want to make sure that if I make any changes to the home address, to the home phone, any of the kids, or any of the tags, I want them to stay in sync. I want them to be copied to the other relationship. So you can check those, so that way you don't have to change one and then go back and change the other. It does it for you automatically. Now, what this does is this creates two separate records in the database. But one thing that we've got in the system is, I'm going to go ahead and just show this again here. So you'll see now I've got Janet Jones and I've got Paul Jones. If I come over here and I want to see all the names in my database, and maybe I mark them all and I want to do some kind of mailer or something, I can go out here and I can say, oh, I don't have that set up. Hang on a second. Let me just do an export option. If I was going to export this, I can choose to combine the primary and the secondary contact. So in the case of Paul and Janet Jones, whenever it exports it, if I choose this second option to combine them, it's going to only export one of the names, but it would use the combined greeting field and mailing name field so that both names are in there, so that you're seeing both. So that's going to save you on labels and printing and stuff like that. Even though we have two records, we help you identify those contacts and weed out the ones that are secondary. Okay, so I hope that answered that. If you've got additional, okay, Bobby, evidently I didn't answer the question right, so let's get together after this. I think it's probably a special one, and we'll need to take a look at it. Can you sync the calendar to your Google Calendar? Yes. Under our settings area, if you go under settings and setting up first your My Social Network, there's a section here under My Social Network which I didn't cover, but you can click on Add Google Account. You can select the account that you want to synchronize with, and then once you do that, you can go to the Google Sync area and you can choose that to synchronize your activities and your contacts, and it will synchronize. One thing to be cautious thereof is if you've imported names from some other source and those same names are also in Google, I would recommend that you probably either erase, remove the names out of Google so that whenever you synchronize, it doesn't create duplicates. Now we've got some capability. We've got a merge wizard here that allows us to go in there and say, well, we want to merge names by, or merge contacts by their name, and be able to go through that list and it merge duplicates if that's the case. But you're really better off to make sure that you've got a clean slate whenever you synchronize your Google. So just a word of caution there. Can the new Zillow contact automatically be imported into Realvolve? Yes. One thing that we do, which is important, and we're not really going to cover this in this class, but we definitely have the ability through Zapier, Zapier.com, Zapier.com, to set up a link to Zillow or any kind of email importing capabilities. We can do parsing of information, and Zillow has a Zap which allows us to bring those names in. We do have a video on YouTube that will take you through that. Can you color activities on the calendar like you do Advantage XI? Yes, you can. On any activity that you add into the calendar, if I click on an activity and say I want to edit it, in the upper right-hand corner here, there is a color option, and you can pick and choose from the colors on that to assign a color of that particular activity. And you can do the same thing for workflows as well. Where do you get the client pictures? Well, client pictures is something where you can go in there and get them yourself just by clicking on the image itself and then being able to pull those from a website or whatever. Originally, prior to April 30th of this year, we were able to bring in all the photos and stuff from Facebook. On April 30th, Facebook changed their privacy rules for all third-party vendors, not just Realvolve, but everybody. And we can no longer access the names and stuff in your friends list. Now, we're working on a way around that, but it's still not there yet. But there is some other features that we're looking at possibly doing as well. But right now, it's just a matter of going in there, clicking on the image, and selecting a file and putting it in. A lot of people take a digital camera picture of them, or off their camera, off their phone, and then just assign that. So that's something that you can do. Does a married contact does married contact files automatically update when you make notes? Okay, on the notes, we are in the process of adding the notes option to that as well. It does not right now, but that is on our enhancement list. Adrian, yes, we will be sending out a rebroadcast link. We're recording this, so you're all set for that. Bobby, I've got your email, and we will we'll get in contact with you on that. So, wow, that was a full hour. If you have any additional questions or whatever, please be sure to send me an email. You can email me, mark@realvolve.com, or go to support@realvolve.com, and any of us can help on that as well. But we look forward to answering it. Guys, we have a lot of really cool things getting ready to happen, and I hope you are I hope you're going to be excited about the things. We've got some things with the dashboard. We've got some new email things that are going to be tremendous for you to be able to do, to automatically organize your contacts' emails right into their own contact tab. There's a new tab called email that will be showing here on the right by the end of this week, from what I understand. It may be even as of tomorrow or Thursday. So look for that pretty soon, and I hope to assist you guys any way I can in the future. So let me know how I can help. Have a great day, guys.